Welcome to Vienna Belvedere. This is one of the most famous castles of Austria, and it's very famous because here on the May 1955, on the 15th of May, just a week after the Western Germany joined NATO, here Austrian neutrality was declared, and I think it's the best moment, the best location here in 2025 to call for Austria to join NATO, and of course for Ukraine, Kosovo, Bosnia to join NATO, because we are all interconnected, and obviously the European Union to join NATO, and this is what we should do. I call here for NATO enlargement as an answer to the Russian aggression and to the Serbian collapse of the tyrant Vučić, and we definitely have to bring the victims of Serb and Russian aggression into NATO. It's a kind of historic mission for Austria. Let's not forget all this were Austrian Habsburg lands, and the breakup of the monarchy has led to disaster. We have started that war in 1914, and we have to apologize. And active remorse is not neutrality, but it's to be solidarity and responsibility in freedom. That means NATO. And of course the European Union should also join NATO, because we have seen at the Washington summit now, this is very clear who is representing Europe. It's some of the big heads of states like France, Italy, Germany. It's of course also then our friends from the United Kingdom, and hopefully they will join the EU as well. But it's obviously also the smaller states, like President Stubb has represented the NATO ally Finland, and of course the EU and NATO united with Ursula and with Mark Rutte. And this is how we should do it in the future, as the EU joining NATO and Austria joining NATO means a very big step forward, because then it's only Ireland, Cyprus and Malta left. And all the new members should also join NATO from beginning, as we have done it in the 1990s and 2000s, and that's very, very good. Yeah. No more neutrality in Europe, clear solidarity with Ukraine, and of course Ukraine joining NATO is the only way for peace. I make it as again very clear, and we have seen that in many occasions, and there is no goodwill in Russia. It's an aggressive, brutal power, and we must work together and in solidarity, and that's of course NATO. And NATO enlargement is the logical next step forward in the four countries I have mentioned: Kosovo, Bosnia, Austria, Ukraine, and of course the climax and the crowning jewel, the European Union itself, to be alliance compatible and a member of the great alliance of NATO. And then we can also raise our military defense capacities, which we have decided with 5%. And then we are ready to really go ahead successfully and defeat Russia, and also somehow organize the dismantlement of the aggressor nation Russia, which will be the result of Ukraine's NATO membership. And that's why Putin is so afraid. That's why he went to Alaska. That's why he mobilized his agent Krasnov/Trump in order to organize all this kind of defeatism and kind of appeasement summits, which will all not result in anything, because ultimately Putin is not ready to do the necessary thing that means to stop the war, and he will continue. And that's why our only logical reaction is obviously to make this confiscation of the Russian central bank asset, to ban Russian imports into the European Union, to adopt the 19th and hopefully the 20th sanction package of the EU, and do secondary sanction and the whole package which Lindsey Graham has brought to the Congress. And all these measures together, with climaxing of course with the delivery of the towers, will put Ukraine in a position to liberate her territories, and of course then Russia will be crumbling under the weight of sanctions and the loss of the war in Ukraine. And then the defeat of Russia by all these measures will result in the dissolution, dismantling of Russia, similar like in ex-Yugoslavia or the ex-Soviet Union, in variation of that. And I made many videos about that one as well. And that's the Fehlinger Doctrine. That's what I propose. And this should be also the foreign policy of the European Union, of Austria, of Germany, and all the countries of the European Union and of NATO. and we will win, and Russia will be defeated, Ukraine will win, it will be united, it will join the Euro and the NATO and the EU and Schengen and this customs union, and this should be also that everybody recognizes Kosovo, and Kosovo as well in the European Union, and Serbia is also in free collapse and has to be isolated together with Georgia until it recognizes Kosovo and turns to the West, and will also join the EU, NATO and the Euro consequently, because there's nothing wrong in any of our institutions. They are all just fine. We have nothing wrong in NATO, EU, and the Euro, the WTO, the OSCE. Russia is there, that's wrong. And of course, Russia should be excluded from all these institutions. And if Putin really comes to Vienna, I personally will be in front of his tourage to call for his jailing, imprisonment, and send him to Den Haag. And if it costs the coalition, it may cost the coalition. But if he enters Austrian territory, he definitely must go to be jailed and to be locked up to Den Haag. Yeah. Putin is not ready for peace, and consequently everything I say here from enlargement must be done. And I give you a last glimpse of this wonderful location here in Belvedere, and me making here very clear what has to happen in the coming days, months and weeks ahead. Deliver Austrian weapons to Ukraine and make sure we are successful by enlarging, and all the countries obviously then in the European Union, but Serbia in 2029. I have here fired up with Bosnia, Kosovo, Ukraine and Moldova also to join NATO and the Euro and the European Union if it fully turns to the West after the elections coming up. That's the short version. I say Slava Ukraine, glory to Europe, glory to NATO, and enlargement is the absolutely correct thing to do. The faster the better, in the Euro, in the Schengen, in the WTO, and of course with the EU FTAs, and of course with NATO most of all. And Austria, there is no reason but Soviet oppression to join not to join NATO. Neutrality is evil. Without solidarity, responsibility, it must be ended, and Austria must join NATO. And if we are talking about changes, this is the changes we need, and we need them fast. Thanks a lot. All the best from Belvedere. For victory, for NATO, for EU, for the Euro, and for all of them to be enlarged. We will win. Thank you.